Hello and welcome into another So You'd Like to Get Into Gaming. Today's video is going to be platformers, which platformers is a difficult genre to actually explain and get into because much like how everything is a roguelike or everything is an RPG, point in case, Donkey Kong Bonanza here has not that I can remember how to actually activate it, but it has a skill tree. It also has a roguelike mode in it. It's been a while since I've played this, okay? Like, I 100%ed it when the game came out, so about 9 months ago now, and I haven't been back to it since. I haven't even actually played the DLC. I bought it, probably wasted money, because I bought it and just never even touched it, but either way, that's beside the point. Whole point of this video is to try to help people get into games and explain what platformers are and what different options you've got. All of my videos are done on the premise of I recommend you get a Switch 2, so I'm mostly going to be covering games that only can exist on a Switch 2 ecosystem, and I'm going to be probably swapping between a lot of games, because there's a lot to cover here. There's a lot of great entry points. Donkey Kong Bonanza, very current, very modern. It's just been nominated for Game of the Year last year. It was in my personal top 10 games of the year, so it is genuinely a really, really great game. It's definitely something that's a little difficult if you've never played a 3D platformer before. I've spoke to people, I've played games like It Takes Two with people who'd never played them before, and learning how to jump into three-dimensional space was actually really difficult for them, but even in a two-dimensional one, the hint I can give here, I understand there is a big, darker shadow of Pauline and Donkey Kong right now, but when I jump, you might be able to hopefully see on the camera, there's a tiny little, like, light grey shadow. That is one of the best tips I can give anyone getting into platformers. Look where your shadow is, because your shadow does not lie in these games. I honestly think that this is a design thing intentionally done to help people, because your shadow will show you where you're going to land. So if you know you need to make a jump and watch barrels not allow a shadow or something, I'm going to see if I can make this. There, I knew when to stop because I lined my shadow up. And I only just made it, but I knew where to stop because I lined my shadow up. There's a lot of different things like that that will actually help and will slowly come to you, but for the most part, platformers tend to be one of the games that you don't really need to know a lot about them going in. There's a lot of hidden video game language in games like Waterfalls, which I'll cover when I do action-adventure games, because I'll be talking about Zelda. There's hidden walls like in Castlevania and Hollow Knight and things that you have to break and that, but for platformers, for the most part, it's just you need to learn how to run, how to jump, and in Donkey Kong's case, how to smash through terrain. Which, that is the only warning I will give. There are a lot of people who don't understand what frame rate means in video games, and I can't think of any other place to put it than in this video here. Donkey Kong Bonanza is an amazing game, but it has massive frame rate dips, and basically what a frame rate is however many images you think your eye can see and what the game is producing, there's a limit to both of those things. There's a limit to what the human eye can see, and there's a limit to what the game, especially on modern hardware, can do. Donkey Kong tries to make it 60 frames every single second, so that means you get 60 pictures every single second. Donkey Kong fluctuates quite a bit, especially when you're in the middle of like smashing through things and you're doing things that might explode, because the gold tends to explode things. Like there, I hit the little gold nugget and that was only a little explosion, but all of these things can cause the frame rate to dip, and if you're not used to it, it can actually cause motion sickness and make you feel sick and give you headaches and give you eye strain. Donkey Kong's one of those games that a lot of people who'd never played this sort of game before were complaining about that. So as much as I think Donkey Kong is a great one to get into, and I know I'm not going totally in depth with all of these games, there's so much to cover, I kind of have to do a cursory glance here and then talk about the genre as a whole, essentially. And then I'll try to talk about the games that I actually recommend, because the team who did Donkey Kong also made Super Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey is genuinely one of the best games ever made. It would be an absolutely exceptional place to start. With gaming, there's a lot of sequels, and Mario's been around for 40 years currently. Like, it's currently in the 40th anniversary phase, so is The Legend of Zelda and that. And it may seem daunting to want to get into a game franchise that's existed for 40 years. Nintendo are the masters of making sure that you can jump in pretty much any point. Like, genuinely, Mario Odyssey is one of those that, if you actually grew up on Mario games, maybe you're just trying to get back into gaming, Mario Odyssey would actually be the best place to start if you grew up on Mario games, because there is a lot of fan service, there is a lot of celebration. apologies about the abrupt cut. I honestly thought my phone was going off and I must have just been hearing things, so it was one of those I figured I should stop it just in case it was being picked up by the microphone. So, anyway, I have kind of totally lost my train of thought. I know I was in the middle of explaining that Nintendo are masters of making games for your first entry point. You will get a lot more out of playing Mario Odyssey if you've played earlier Mario games, but at the same time, if this is your first Mario game, you're starting with one hell of a great game, and Nintendo do that a lot. I know people who've started with some of the only true Zelda sequels and been able to pick them up quite easily. But one of the great things about this whole, why I keep recommending a Switch 2 to everyone, I'm not going to load any of these. I'd have too many games to open up. But if you open up the Game Boy app, there's 2 or 3 Mario platformers on there. The Game Boy Advance, you'll get 2 or 3 platformers there. You get ports of the NES games mostly. Super Mario Advance 2, 3, 4, I believe. There's like Yoshi's Island, which isn't technically a Mario, but it's part of the same universe. Nintendo 64 one, you'll get Mario 64. At the moment, Sunshine isn't available for the GameCube app, but it probably will be at some point. There's the SNES app where you can play some games. Like, there's so many of the older Mario games, you can actually kind of do a catch-up. So you could essentially start on any of those and they would all kind of be great places, and I am going to at least load one of the 2D ones because so far I've only covered 3-dimensional platformers, and this is why I also wanted to put this on, because this has got some classic Mario, as you can see. So learning how to play a 2-dimensional Mario game does actually help. Like, for example, I know that there's something behind there. And I know that I couldn't make that run and jump, but old Mario games taught me invisible blocks are a thing. So I get the invisible block, go over here, get the moon, which obviously I've already got, which is why it's grayed out. But yeah, Mario Odyssey is genuinely a great beginner's game, but also a great game for people who are more advanced. And there's some stuff that you can learn, and like the skill ceiling of this game is immense. I watch speedrunners do this game all the fucking time, and there are some truly fantastic tricks that I would probably be able to do if I put the time into it, but I also beat the game when it came out and I've never went back to it. I kind of kept waiting, thinking that they'd either do an actual Switch 2 version, which they did kind of do a free update for it, and it looks and runs and plays better than it's ever done on the Switch 2, so again, this is like the best time to get into the game. But I've covered Donkey Kong Bonanza and Mario Odyssey, which were made by the same team. They've got a lot of the same DNA. If you like one, chances are you'll like the other, even though they're completely different games. But there's also, as I say, an absolute bunch of 2-dimensional games. There's also one other 3-dimensional game that's kind of current. It's a port of a Wii U game called Super Mario 3D World. I actually have a video up on that, so I don't want to cover too much of it here, but it's a really, really great old-school platformer, but in 3D. You then have Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. I don't think they're great beginner games. I'm about to say something that's probably sacrilegious. I like them, but I don't love them at all. I've never loved those games. They've got some jank in them. There's moments where, to be fair, before I actually switch off Mario Odyssey, I can kind of show it. So I need to run around here. So basically, whatever direction you're running in a 3-dimensional platform, or whatever direction the camera is pointed in, is the direction you run. So as I'm moving the camera there, I'm only holding forward. And Mario Galaxy has this thing where it's got a gravity system into it, and the gravity seems to mess up the camera something fierce. It doesn't actually mess the camera up, it messes up what it feels the orientation is. So you can be running forward, and then the gravity suddenly changes, and you'll start running in a circle on a spot like this, even though the only direction you're holding is forward. Mario just runs around and spins constantly, and it's really, really irritating. I got killed a bunch of times doing it. A lot of the times that it would happen, it would frustrate me, because I'm like, I know this wasn't my fault, this was the game. It's why I personally don't recommend those as starter games, because I'm used to it. I beat them. I like them enough. I just don't love them. But I feel as starter games, they're really not the best idea to go for. But by the time Sunshine comes out on the GameCube app, that will mean you can play, with the exception of 3D Land, every single 3D Mario will be available on this one console. Then we have the 2D stuff. Personally, and I'm about to annoy a load of other people, I recommend Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe over Mario Bros. Wonder. Mario Bros. Wonder is a more current game. It's about to get a Switch 2 patch at this moment in time, and it's the one I'm going to put on because I don't have Deluxe installed. I only have Wonder installed because I will be buying the Bella Bell Park thing, and as you can probably see there, I kind of bounced from this game because I got really bored. and it's the only way I can actually describe it. I know Nabbit's the cheat character, but I love rabbits, I really do, so as I'm doing this for this anyway. But that's actually something I should probably bring up. These games have got what are known as like kind of cheat characters, and it's basically beginner mode characters, so Nabbit is kind of really difficult to feel, shall we say, and it's been designed to help people get into platformers, because I'd already mentioned, obviously, looking for shadows. This one doesn't really have shadows, so this one's kind of a little different on that way. But Mario Wonder, a lot of people love it. It's just me that wasn't really that keen on it. Basically, my thoughts are, they've made so many new Mario Bros games. So New Super Mario Bros on the DS, New Super Mario Bros 2 on the 3DS, New Super Mario Bros Wii, New Super Mario Bros on the Wii U. I think that's all of them. And everyone was saying the same thing. All 2D Marios are kind of samey these days. It's all the same design, the same stuff. And people wanted a break. They wanted something fresh. And along comes Wonder. And suddenly everyone's absolutely raving about Wonder for being that. Wonder's just deluxe. Like, it's the exact same game. It's got so much of the same level design and basic crap that all of the others had that I didn't find it enjoyable at all. The only difference is you find what's known as a Wonder Seed in this game. And for 30 seconds to a minute of a level, the game's totally different and the levels are totally different. And I'm starting to wish I'd just loaded another file. I forgot that you get story, because despite the fact that Miyamoto is kind of infamous for making Galaxy 2 have zero story because he was so angry that they added Rosalina into Galaxy 1 and gave it a story, Mario Wonder now has story. I know Miyamoto's like doing movie stuff now and theme park stuff, and he's in the twilight years of his career, so it might be just a case of that, but it's just weird for me that now all of a sudden Mario games do have story, when before it used to be you go find the princess, and your princess is in another castle, and that's about it. So yeah, hopefully I can try to at least show this before I move on to the next game, but I am kind of running out of minor basic things to say before I actually now have to get around to, discussing the genre as a whole, I guess, because the entire point of a platformer, for anyone who doesn't know, and I know maybe I should have covered this as the basics at the very start of the thing, I've had to do this video in a weird way, I know I have. The whole point of a platformer, in its purest way, is a two-dimensional one like this, and for the most part, you run from the left to the right, jumping on enemies' heads, trying to find what's known as the exit. And the exit could be an actual door, like in Kirby, which I can't believe I didn't even get around to mentioning Kirby, and Kirby Forgotten Worlds as well is one of the best 3D platformers on the entire system. I might need to load that real quick. But in this case, in Mario's case, it's the Telltale Flagpole, and usually there is actually a reason to get to the top of the flagpole. Sometimes it's an extra life thing, sometimes it's if you do it on every single level because it's a minor skill check, then you can unlock things. But for the most part, you're going from the left to the right. Doesn't matter whether it's Sonic, doesn't matter whether it's Mario, doesn't matter whether it's Donkey Kong, Tropical Freeze, because there's a bunch of Donkey Kong 2D games as well available on the Switch. This is what I mean. There's too many games to name, there's too many games to mention, so the very basics are you just run, jump, and jump on enemies. You don't even need to kill the enemies, you can dodge the enemies. There's pacifist runs of these games all the time. They are usually very chill, very relaxed, but you can get games like Tropical Freeze, which are genuinely brutally difficult platformers. They are definitely for the hardcore players who know what they're doing. I do not think starting with a Donkey Kong is a good idea. The first Donkey Kong Country was available on the SNES. It'll be available on the SNES app. There'll be a bunch of Kirby games there as well. And Donkey Kong Country might be a great place to get into the Donkey Kong games, but even that, back in the day, that was considered a really difficult platformer. I personally loved it, because I always liked the harder games. I'd beat Mario World a dozen times. I'd beat Super Mario Bros. 3 a dozen times. By that point, I needed something. And I'd got to the point where I was so good at those games that having a difficult platformer like Donkey Kong Country, like, believe it or not, Yoshi's Island, the original Yoshi's Island was ridiculously difficult in places. And it's why fans of Yoshi games are a little irked now, because Yoshi has been made the cutesy, kiddie-friendly platformer. And it's a little annoying, because not everything needs to be made for every person. But it's like, this was a game series that was considered really difficult for a time, and now it's just not. They've always had Kirby as the easier platformer, so I don't know why we needed Kirby and Yoshi to be the easy platformers. But anyway, I've tried to show enough of this off. I guess I should now load Kirby. There's too much to show off and cover, and the reason I'm trying to show as many games here is the fact that they are all so drastically different that I'm hoping by showing this, you'll at least see a little bit of footage and go, you know what, maybe that's the game I should try, that's the one that piques my interest. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is truly one of the best 3D platformers I've ever played. It is personally my favourite Kirby game of all time. I couldn't believe how good it was, and the Switch 2 version, allowing it to run at a silky smooth frame rate finally, and a much higher resolution and some HDR, and added some content to it as well. It's an absolutely great beginner's game, because Kirby games, as I say, are naturally easier. This kind of, it doesn't do the perfect balance, but it comes close. Because the whole point is, you can play through a mission, and it's just like all other platformers. Well, with the exception of Donkey Kong Bonanza and Mario Odyssey, those two are more open world platformers. How you find the quote-unquote exit tends to be you have to collect enough. So, Bonanza, you don't need to collect any bananas. I think you can actually beat the game without collecting any at all, but Mario Odyssey, you need to collect enough moons to power up your ship to move you to the next world. That's considered the exit. Donkey Kong Bonanza, you find, I can't remember what specifically. I know there's like worms that teleport you, but I can't remember the actual. I think it's just that you find the boss, and then the boss takes you down the next layer. I think that's considered the exit. Yeah, you kill the boss, you jump down a hole, and that takes you to the next layer. That's how the exits work. So with Donkey Kong, that's how you find the exits. With Kirby, it is very much not so much a left to right, but an A to B moment. And why is my camera not inverted? Okay, that's weird. So the whole point of Kirby is you place this little pink, adorable ball of fluff. No one really knows what a Kirby is. Like, genuinely, it's one of those things that Kirby's just like an omnipotent god at this moment in time in lore-wise. Kirby can suck up enemies, specific enemies. If I do this bun rabbit here, I get no ability, but obviously you've seen me get the blade ability from this here. And basically, well, the cutter, I should say, not blade. The cutter ability allows you to throw things. Kirby can suck up bomb characters to throw bombs, can get gun characters to shoot. There's loads of different power-ups, but for the most part, Kirby is going from A to B, finding the exit, and the way the difficulty comes into play, if you only get the exit, then you're getting a very easy game, but there's all of these challenges, so save all the hidden Waddle Dees. You've got to look around everywhere for the Waddle Dees. Sometimes it's a case of finding puzzles and solving the puzzles. Sometimes they're just out in the open. Sometimes it's finding the specific route to make a jump, because it might be a case of, okay, so jump up into this box, and I'm onto a platform. It could be a load of different things. There's make 5 tulips bloom, so you have to be on the lookout for flowers. They look like flowers, but they're not the tulips. There's, I think, to be fair, I think the red ones are the tulips, but either way, there's just loads of little challenges like that if you get into the game, if you really like it, that's where your difficulty comes in. 100%ing the game is a lot harder than just beating it. So Kirby is a really, really great beginner's one, because it'll teach you some basics. It also is very forgiving with jumps, because Kirby is allowed to do this, and eventually this runs out. Eventually, as you can see here, I am starting to, but even then, I'm falling slowly. So let's say this is a pitfall that I was about to die, but that's safety. I still would have made it. Thank you, because I actually now want to get this and go around throwing bombs. You can also upgrade your abilities and everything. There's just so much to cover. And I know this is the most chaotic. Like, if this is the very first video of mine that you're ever watching, I'm not going to lie and say that, like, less chaotic. Well, maybe they're less chaotic, but this is just my brand. I'm ADHD to fuck. Everything's chaos. And when there's so much to cover like this, it gets difficult to know the correct order to do it in, because there's too much. So I think I've kind of covered some of the biggest heavy hitters. Those are the, like, 4 more current modern games. While I may not be the biggest fan of that and personally think Deluxe is a better place to start, there's also the fact that all of those cost money. And as I've already said, if I do these videos with assuming that you have a Switch 2, that's my recommendation. So buying Nintendo Switch Online gives you access to a load of these classic games. And I know I said I'm not going to load into all of them. I'm probably only going to load into one of them, to be honest. Yes, I understand there's something new to play. Okay, so hilariously, that's a Mario game, but that's not a platformer. That's actually a puzzle game. So where is a Mario game that I can actually boot? Where is a Mario game that I can actually boot? Right, so yeah, I know I've already mentioned Mario's Island. I guess I will go for Mario World, and I don't think there's much difference between the European version, but Mario World, one of the all-time greatest games. It's a lot easier than Mario Bros. 3, so if you want to get into old school platformers, I recommend this over Mario Bros. 3. But Mario Bros. 3, it's difficult to see which is the best, because for me, Mario World and Mario Bros. 3 are kind of tied for how great the games they are, for different reasons. I like Mario Bros. 3's difficulty. I like Mario World's discovery, because Mario World teaches you how to find secret exits, basically. This world map here, I can't show it here because I'm literally at the start of the game, has 2 levels on it and Yoshi's house. But by beating these levels with yellow on them, you advance through the map. If ever you see a red level, I don't know why the controls are different on this. Oh, it's the Game Boy version, of course. That's why the button that I'm expecting to be run is not run. Right, yeah. So anyway, the levels with yellow basically have 1 exit, and levels that are red mean they have a secret exit, and the whole point is you will have to find the secret exit, and that's where some of the difficulty comes in into this game, because you can look them up on a guide, but it's also one of those things that it's fun to discover things like that there, where I ate a red shell with Yoshi and spat out fire. I ate a green shell and spat out the green shell. If I eat a yellow shell or a blue shell, other things happen, and I'll let you discover that for yourself. The blue shell is personally my favourite, but the blue shell kind of allows you to cheat most of the game, I'm not going to lie. And this actual version of Mario, it's the other reason why I actually said to try the Game Boy version, because this version, they actually added in different coloured Yoshis. And there's a red, yellow and blue one alongside the green, and basically they added in those Yoshis that basically have that ability, and to be fair, I know I said I'd let you discover it, but I might as well say it. The blue Yoshi allows you to basically swallow a shell, well, hold a shell in your mouth and fly. So it allows you to just cheat the entire game if you need to. So it's why, if you are just getting into platformers, this is genuinely one of the easiest old school ones to get into. It's still got some brutal difficulty to it, but at the same time, it adds a lot of modernization that allows you to breeze through things. And yeah, I think this complete and utter clusterfuck of a video, I'm still going to upload it. You're watching it, so you know I uploaded it. But even I admit, I don't know how I can actually do this better. There's too much to cover. I'm talking about, I think I might have mentioned 20 games. It's the most games I've ever mentioned, and I'm not surprised, because it's platformers, and what is Nintendo fucking known for? They're known for Mario, and not just Mario, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, Kirby. Like, they have so many games, so many franchises that are platformers, and all of them have got so many great games in their library. So there's amazing places to start. As I'm recording this, there's a new Yoshi game about to come out, and that might be a great beginner's one because it's designed for kids, and I don't mean that as a insult to anyone's intelligence or anything, because at the end of the day, all games are kind of designed for kids, let's be real. Like, GTA was the most kid game ever made, despite the fact it being Grand Theft Auto and being an 18-rated game, you know. Games were kind of designed for kids in mind, so don't take that as an insult. It might genuinely be a great place to start, is something that's designed for kids who are going to be just getting into games. We all have to start somewhere, and there's so many different entry points to this franchise, this genre, this just everything, that it makes it hard to cover everything. So I hope, chaos aside, this video has still been helpful, because I honestly can't think of anything else that I would actually have liked to have covered here. I've covered all of what I believe to be the major franchises that are available on the Switch too. Maybe I should have covered some indie stuff, but to be honest, I don't really tend to play a lot of indie platformers. The things that I do play that get dubbed as platformers, as I've already said, are things like Hollow Knight Silksong, which I see why. Silksong does actually have some brutal platforming sections. It is one of those that, as much as it's a Metroidvania, it does have platforming in it, so does Hollow Knight, but I still wouldn't ever call them platformers, I'd call them Metroidvanias. You know, it's just one of those things. It's like saying that because you can run and jump in Link's Awakening, it's a platformer. No, not at all. So with that, I think this chaotic video finally comes to an end, and I'm going to say, I've been Sky Fellowship. I truly do hope you have a great rest of your day, and I don't know, maybe this is the one time when people might need to ask something, because I don't know how I can cover things better than this. It's, with this one video, as much as I thought RPGs and rogues were going to be the hardest things to cover because of how complicated they are, I thought platformers would be simple. I really did. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a platformer. You run from left to right, you jump to the end. Oh yeah, but there's 3D ones. Oh, and then there's Mario, which is different than Donkey Kong, which is different to Kirby, which is different to Yoshi, and all of them need discussing. And then there's like the 2D Mario games and the 2D Donkey Kong games, which are very different. And there's the 2D Yoshi games and the 2D Kirby games. I don't even think I covered the 2D Kirby games. Like, I don't even think I mentioned them at this moment in time. 2D Kirby is genuinely what you've just saw with Forgotten Land, only on a two-dimensional plane. You still suck up enemies to get their powers. You still tend to go from left to right. You can still do the floaty jump. And at the very least, I know fine well, there's some brilliant Kirby games on... I don't know if there's any on the Game Boy Advance app. I will very quickly check this while I'm actually exiting the game. There should be, surely they must have put at least one Kirby up. Yes, The Amazing Mirror. It's actually one of the few Kirby games I never finished, but it is a good platformer. I just was at the point of needing a break from Kirby games, because I'm weird in the way of when I sometimes play a game, as much as I'm saying you don't need to always get into the older games, I tend to do that with a lot of things. So with Kirby, because it was such a gap in my library, I went through the NES one, a couple of the SNES ones, a couple of the DS ones, which, if the DS ones ever come out on the Switch, seriously, the DS Kirby games are amazing. But I skipped the Game Boy Advance ones, which there's Amazing Mirror, and I want to say Nightmare something. I never got around to finishing Nightmare either, but I did start them and I did enjoy them. It's just I was kind of sick of Kirby, but they are also kind of good beginner ones to go for, because Kirby's always been on the easier side. So with that, I am now finally done. I truly do hope you have a great rest of your day, and until the next time, which will hopefully be way less chaotic. I know fine well I'm doing Rogues later on. I don't know what else I'm doing today, but either way, bye.